Y'all, I am back with another sponsored video. This one is about Jordan Chandler, Michael Jackson's first accuser. So before I get into Jordan's chart, I'm going to read a little bit about this story. From Wikipedia, it says 1993 child sexual abuse accusations against Michael Jackson. In 1993, Evan Chandler, a dentist and screenwriter based in Los Angeles, accused the American singer Michael Jackson of sexually abusing Chandler's 13-year-old son, Jordan. Jackson had befriended Jordan after renting a vehicle from Jordan's stepfather. Though Evan Chandler initially encouraged the relationship, he later confronted his ex-wife, who had custody of Jordan, with suspicions that the relationship was inappropriate. Chandler wanted to resolve the issue with a financial settlement, but he and Jackson could not agree on an amount. In July, Jordan told a psychiatrist and police that Jackson had sexually abused him, triggering an investigation. Some of Jackson's staff reported inappropriate behavior, but the police dismissed their accounts as not credible, as they had sold their stories to tabloids or had grievances against Jackson. Jackson's legal team maintained that Chandler was attempting to extort Jackson, citing a phone recording in which he said he was going to humiliate Jackson and win big time. In August 1993, as the second leg of Jackson's Dangerous World Tour began, news of the allegations broke and received worldwide media attention. Jackson canceled the remainder of the tour, citing health problems arising from the scandal. That September, the Chandlers filed a lawsuit against Jackson. They and Jackson reached a financial settlement in January 1994. Jackson and his legal team stressed that this was not an admission of guilt. The investigation found no physical evidence against Jackson. In September 1994, the investigation was closed after the Chandlers declined to cooperate, leaving the case without its main witness. The allegations affected Jackson's public image and commercial standing. Several of his endorsement deals were canceled, including his decade-long Pepsi endorsement. Further allegations of abuse by Jackson led to the People versus Jackson trial in 2005, in which Jackson was found not guilty on all charges. In November 2009, 5 months after Jackson's death, Evan Chandler died by suicide following several years of depression and estrangement from his family. Background. According to Consequence of Sound, in 1993, the American pop star Michael Jackson was the most popular musician in the world. That February, Jackson's car broke down and was towed to a local garage, Rent-A-Wreck. The Rent-A-Wreck owner, David Schwartz, called his wife, June Chandler Schwartz, to meet Jackson. She brought her son from a previous marriage, Jordan Chandler. Jordan's father, Evan Chandler, was a dentist who treated Hollywood celebrities. He was also a screenwriter who co-wrote the 1993 comedy Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Jackson and Jordan became close. The National Enquirer ran a feature story titled Michael's New Adopted Family, implying that Jackson had stolen Jordan from Evan. Jackson invited Jordan, his stepsister, and his mother to visit his home, Neverland Ranch, on the weekends. They would also take trips to Las Vegas and Florida. These trips interfere with Jordan's scheduled visits with Evan, with Jordan preferring to visit Neverland Ranch. In May, Evan encouraged Jackson to spend more time with Jordan. Evan suggested that Jackson should buy an extension onto Jackson's house. When they were denied planning permission, Chandler suggested Jackson buy him a house. In the same month, Jordan and June flew with Jackson to Monaco for the World Music Awards. According to June's lawyer, Michael Freeman, Evan was jealous and felt left out. Upon their return, Jackson stayed in the Schwartz-Chandler home for 5 days. Jackson slept in a room with Jordan and his stepbrother. Chandler said that this is when he became suspicious of sexual misconduct by Jackson, although he said that Jackson and Jordan were clothed when he saw them in bed together and never claimed to have witnessed sexual misconduct. Jordan and Jackson's contact ended in June 1993. This video has been sponsored by Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for sponsoring another video. Michelle wants to know, Jordan and Michael's relationship, the mother allowing Michael to sleep in the bed with Jordan at both their and his house. What aspects or themes would reflect that? Also, what would be the aspects or themes in his chart regarding his messed up family? So I will be discussing those aspects. So you also included some information about the case. So you said June Schwartz, which was is Jordan's mother, and Evan Chandler, his father, drugged his son up on the allegations that Michael abused him, since his father was a dentist, in order for him to tell the truth. Jordan's life turned upside down in 1993 after the media found out the accuser's name. Father extorting Jackson by meeting him in a hotel room to cut a deal, implying he wouldn't go to the police unless he got millions of dollars, and Michael financed 5 of his scripts. Jordan's emancipation from his parents. Jordan cutting off his mother but going back to his father, only for his father to abuse and leave him again. Jordan's disappearance from society, even in the age of social media. Jordan changing his name. All right, so let's get into his numerology. So Jordan's birth number is 11. That breaks down to 2. 11 often produces conflicts, both internal and external, but also conflicts with home, family, women, starting with the mother, usually, race, culture, parenthood, and diet. Being born on the 11th as a Capricorn can result in being exploited by your own mother or family. Interference from third parties. Life path number 30, that breaks down to 3. This 30 life path number explains why he has become a recluse, because it is the number of loner meditation. Also, this is representative of Jordan being biracial or coming from a multicultural background. Also, freedom, truth, justice. The legal system and the courts are represented by that 3 life path number. So here's Jordan's chart. Thank you, Michelle, for providing the birth time. He is Capricorn rising with Sun and Mercury in Capricorn in the 12th. Venus in Aquarius intercepted in the 1st. South Node in Pisces in the 1st house. Chiron in Taurus in the 3rd, but it's conjoined to the 4th house cuts. North Node in Virgo in the 7th, but it's actually conjoined to the 8th house cuts. Mars and Jupiter in Virgo in the 8th, Saturn in Virgo in the 8th, Pluto in Libra in the 9th, Moon in Scorpio in the 9th, Uranus in Scorpio in the 10th, Neptune in Sagittarius in the 11th. All right, let's go. So Jordan's ascendant at the 21st degree of Capricorn. That 21st degree of Capricorn can represent his father's greed, as well as his father being overbearing. So the Capricorn themes: age is a major factor with Capricorn, control, reputation, police/authorities, struggle, solitude, opportunism, exploitation, and Capricorn rules the father. So again, father being a major theme. Jordan had a biological father and a stepfather. So here's Evan Chandler, the father. Sun and Mercury conjoined to the ascendant. Represents father's control and influence over him. And what's interesting is Evan Chandler, the father of Jordan, his Mercury is conjoined to Jordan's Mercury. So that shows that he was really able to influence his mind. So represents father's control and influence over him, but in a low-key way with the Sun and Mercury in the 12th house. Father being a dentist, Capricorn rules dentistry, and his issue with the use of anesthetics. Father drugged Jordan during a dental appointment in order to get Jordan to give an incriminating statement about Michael Jackson. Represents Jordan going into hiding at some point with the 12th house emphasis. Also, Jordan sleeping beside a man. You could look at it like that. Again, remember the age is a major theme with Capricorn. Pluto in Libra square ascendant can play out as abuse, including sexual, can also play out as fraud, being pressured by a psychiatrist, avoidance of people. Represents his mother, because Pluto rules the 10th house, being an oppressive, controlling influence in his life. He may have felt that mom put her relationships before him, with Pluto being in Libra, being caught between two feuding parents. He may have had problems with his stepfather. Mars and Saturn and Virgo trine ascendant. Mars rules the 10th house, the mother. So Mars is representing the mother amongst other things in Jordan's life. Represents Michael Jackson's help and support. Michael was somewhat of a mentor towards him. Meeting Michael through his stepfather, who owned the rent-a-wreck garage, told him he could have the rental for free if Michael was willing to meet Jordan. Mom brings Jordan to meet Michael when Michael was getting his vehicle fixed. Or basically renting the rent-a-wreck. And that's very indicative of Virgo, because Virgo is very cheap, can be cheap. And I think it was just interesting that Michael went with the rent-a-wreck instead of but it was like the towing company took it to rent-a-wreck, but with all the money that Michael had, I'm like, why would you choose rent-a-wreck anyway? But Virgo can be very cheap, or you could say very financially prudent. Venus in Aquarius can join to that Pisces South node. So Venus rules the 4th house via Taurus. The 4th house is the father. So that's father being very concerned about money. And with Venus in Aquarius, that's the father feeling like he's entitled to receive money. Represents his father's sense of entitlement when it came to money that prompted him to portray his son as a victim. Represents Jordan's father using him and his lie in order to get money, with Pisces ruling lies, Pisces also ruling victimization. Here's Evan with some dude. Venus and South Node square Uranus in Scorpio can represent the friendship with Michael Jackson basically being forced upon Jordan by his mother. So Uranus is in the 10th house, which is basically showing that it was mom that was actually the fan more so than Jordan. So it's like she forced this friendship upon Jordan, mainly because it was all for her. There could have been times when Jordan's mother insisted that he hang out with her and MJ instead of hanging out with friends of his own choosing. Can represent Jordan's mother and how she turned on him in order to get a slice of the pie. How she turned on Michael Jackson, that is. Asocial tendencies represents his parents' divorce, represents his father's suicide. Again, Venus ruling that 4th house. Allegations. On July 8th, 1993, Schwartz phoned Evan to discuss Jordan's relationship with Jackson. Unbeknownst to Evan, Schwartz recorded the phone call. Chandler was hostile about Jackson, describing him as evil. He said he had hired the nastiest son of a bitch he could find, the lawyer Barry Rothman, to humiliate Jackson, and said, once I make that phone call, this guy is going to destroy everybody in sight in any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. I've given him full authority to do that. If I go through with this, I win big time. There's no way I lose. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever. Michael's career will be over. This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe what is going to happen to him beyond his worst nightmares. He will not sell one more record. When Schwartz asked how this would affect Jordan, Chandler replied, that's irrelevant to me. The bottom line is, yes, his mother is harming him and Michael is harming him. I can prove that, and I will prove that. It cost me tens of thousands of dollars to get the information I got. And you know I don't have that kind of money. I'm willing to go down financially. In August, Chandler extracted one of Jordan's teeth. While Jordan was under the effects of the sedative, Evan asked him if Jackson had ever touched his penis. Jordan said yes. So Jordan's moon is at the 3rd degree of Scorpio in the 9th house. So this is representing his mother. The moon in Scorpio, especially when it's at the 3rd degree, can produce a very involved mother, a mother that could be too involved. A momager, you can say. Mother can be manipulative, controlling, and potentially abusive. Betrayal at the hands of the mother or family is possible. A mother who has a need to feel powerful and prominent. Mom has criminal or underhanded tendencies. A mom that can be obsessive compulsive. Love-hate relationship with mother. As you can see, his mother is like beaming with delight in this picture as well. But Jordan doesn't look too happy in most of these pictures. Moon in Scorpio opposition Chiron and Taurus can represent a mother who is not looking out for her son's safety or security, a mother whose values are questionable, being around security guards due to being around Michael Jackson. Mother could have viewed Jordan as her meal ticket. Child support and custody battle between his mother and father. Lack of evidence in case against Michael Jackson explains why Jordan wouldn't cooperate with the police investigation. The genitals being the nail in the coffin. Remember, in that article, it was saying that Michael Jackson, in the autopsy, it was found that Michael Jackson was uncircumcised, but Jordan said that he was circumcised. And also the jury did not believe that Jordan's description matched up with the actual photograph of Michael Jackson's penis. Moon in Scorpio trine Pisces South Node, sextile Virgo North Node. Mom creates a magical moment for Jordan through introducing him to Michael Jackson. A mother who was very permissive, the kind of mother who could let a lot slide or basically look the other way. The trust fund, including the stipulations that Jordan had to meet in order to be qualified to receive it. Moon trine South Node is akin to a family of grifters. So this is like him being brought up in a family of grifters, both his mother and his father. You could throw the stepfather in there too. So Jordan has a kite in his chart, and it includes a sextile between his Mercury and Capricorn and midheaven in Scorpio. So mom was basically managing Jordan's career, you could say, perhaps, and she's thinking that, you know, she's going to have Michael mentor him. Mother was very supportive of Jordan's ambitions. Mother benefits from father's scheme. Remember, Mercury's in that 12th house, scheming. Also in this kite, Mars and Jupiter and Virgo are forming a trine with Chiron. Mother is awarded money and becomes the guardian of Jordan's trust fund. Can represent a generous allowance that Jordan was given before he turned 18. Chandler and his legal team approached Jackson asking for $20 million, threatening to take the dispute to a criminal court. Jackson refused, saying no way in hell. A few weeks later, Jackson's legal team made a counteroffer of $1 million. This was declined by Chandler, who then requested $15 million. Jackson refused and lowered his offer to $350,000, which Chandler also refused. According to some sources, Evan unsuccessfully sought a $20 million film production deal with Jackson to avoid going to court. In October 1994, Mary A. Fisher of GQ reported it was Chandler who initially accused Jackson of molesting his son before he demanded a screenwriting deal from Jackson instead of going to the police. So I found this on Reddit, and I thought it was quite interesting because it sheds some more light on June Schwartz, the mother's personality. Now, I don't know how accurate this is, but I decided to include it. Rather the category of fanatical stan who wanted to meet Michael Jackson at all costs. She even sent a recovery letter to the hospital when Michael sustained the burns from the Pepsi commercial, complete with a photo of her 4-year-old son, Jordan. They are said to have often seen him in restaurants in Beverly Hills and wanted to meet him. Son Jordan was a big fan and danced to his music in the streets. Through a coincidence of a car breakdown, she finally got to know Michael Jackson. The outcome had fatal consequences. When Father Evan came into play, the dream for her and her children to tour with Michael Jackson and have a career was ended because Evan ran amok and orchestrated the allegations. That term orchestrated, that's very Virgo, representing Saturn and Virgo in Jordan's chart. All because he didn't get what he wanted, a career in Hollywood as a screenwriter. The Chandlers made millions of dollars from this media blackmail. Today, the gold digger plays the groomed, shocked, and clueless mother who can't remember anything, just like Joy Robson, who also wanted to be mistress of Neverland. You can't get any wiser from her testimony from 2005 in court. It seemed like poor Billie Jean had amnesia. These women remind me of Billie Jean and wanting to be a part of Michael Jackson and his legend forever. Without allegations, these people would not be relevant to his story. I believe their obsession with him is psychically manifested. It's the source of money for these people to live off Michael Jackson, and when they were denied it, they went to the media and got paid to impersonate the victims. It's time to get mine. The media aren't interested in a different story or a different perspective either. When he stopped calling because he turned his back on them, the Chandlers got frustrated. She believed at the time that her ex-husband, Evan Chandler, was influencing her son. June Chandler's role in this, a terrible person and mother. So basically, I found out through reading that little Reddit post, and again, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but June Schwartz / Chandler, she was a crazy fanatic for Michael Jackson, and it was her that was chasing Michael down for years. Her even contacting Michael when he sustained injuries from the burns from the Pepsi commercial filming. So that was interesting to read that. And again, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually true. On July 15th, the child psychiatrist Mathis Abrams wrote to Rothman, who was seeking an expert opinion to help establish the allegations against Jackson. Abrams wrote that there was a reasonable suspicion of sexual abuse without having met Evan or Jordan. He also said that if this were not a hypothetical case, he would be required by law to report the matter to the Los Angeles County Department of Children's Services. On August 17, Evan took Jordan to Abrams and told him Jordan had been molested. Over a 3-hour session, Jordan told Abrams that Jackson had sexually abused him for months and gave graphic accounts of masturbation and oral sex. Jordan repeated these allegations to police and described Jackson's penis. According to the county's DCFS reports, Jordan had difficulty remembering the times and dates of his alleged molestation, but was consistent in his story. Sextile Uranus in Scorpio. Mother benefits through husband / Jordan's stepfather who put in work for Michael Jackson. Remember, Jordan's Uranus is in his 10th house. 10th house is representing the mother. That's Saturn and Virgo. In this case, is representing his stepfather. Mother and father are in agreement regarding the case due to the gain of money. But I think the mom was coerced. There was in the recording where Evan Chandler was saying that June was going to lose custody of Jordan once all this came out into the open. So he might have threatened her, and that could have been why she decided to comply. Jordan's father successfully coaching him. You could even say grooming him with Saturn and Virgo. That could be a father that grooms his son. Produces sex appeal, especially with the right grooming regimen and fitness routine. Reviving the relationship with his father. So, Michelle, you mentioned that Jordan, broke things off with his father, but then returned to his father to rekindle the relationship. But then his father betrayed him once again. But this sextile is representing the reviving of the relationship with his father. The revival, you could say. So more about this kite. So Jupiter in Virgo sextile Scorpio midheaven. Mother benefits from Jordan's friendship with Jackson, with Jupiter ruling the 11th house, being coached, being groomed. Grand trine. Mercury trine Chiron and Taurus, Mars and Jupiter trine Chiron. Money through his father and mother's collaboration against Michael Jackson. The ability to go into hiding. So nobody really knows where Jordan is at. He will surface on occasion, like here, and people will catch photos of him. But for the most part, Jordan is missing in action. I can understand why, though. Mars and Saturn and Virgo square Neptune and Sagittarius, being drugged by his father nonetheless. Living a lie, a charade deception involving a man and his father, with Mars representing the man who happens to be a Virgo and his father represented by Saturn. The father's extortion tactics, sexual victimization. So that's a theme of this aspect. It doesn't mean that Michael sexually victimized Jordan. Jordan could have been a victim of another sexual predator, could have even been his own father. But the sexual victimization theme is still there because that was the main theme of the court case. Going into hiding, isolation, a fake identity, changing his name. So Michelle, this is the aspect that deals with him changing his name and also basically assuming a false persona, fake identity, addictive tendencies. This can also produce sexual dysfunction as well. So he could have problems with impotence. Here's Evan Chandler. I guess that's with his new wife. Here's Jordan on the right. Venus in Aquarius trine Pluto in Libra. Remember, Venus is ruling Jordan's father, among other things, in Jordan's life. Father is awarded a multi-million-dollar settlement. Another aspect that is representative of the trust fund that was created for Jordan. I don't know who this guy is up here. Venus in Aquarius sextile Neptune in Sagittarius. Basically, a fan's dream comes true with Aquarius ruling fans. But this also represents how Evan, the father, benefited from Jordan's friendship to Jackson, especially in terms of the money from the lawsuit. And the lawsuit was settled on Evan's birthday, January 25th. Represents his father's success in drugging Jordan with the truth serum in order to get him to give a statement about Michael Jackson, being emancipated from his father. And that's because Neptune's in the 11th house. Venus is ruling the 4th. Neptune sextile Pluto, being emancipated from his mother. So Neptune sextile Pluto and Venus sextile Neptune are representing Jordan's emancipation from his parents. On August 18, 1993, the Los Angeles Police Department's sexually exploited child unit began a criminal investigation into Jackson. June Chandler initially told police that she did not believe Jackson had molested her son. However, her position wavered a few days later. On August 21st, a search warrant was issued, allowing police to search Neverland Ranch. Police questioned 30 children who were friends of Jackson. All stated that he was not a child molester. Gary Hearn, Jackson's chauffeur, testified in his deposition to driving Jackson to Jordan's house at night and collecting him in the morning for a period of about 30 days. On August 24th, the day the allegations were made public, Jackson began the third leg of his Dangerous World Tour in Bangkok. That day, Anthony Pellicano, a private detective hired by Jackson, held a press conference accusing Chandler of trying to extort $20 million from Jackson. He did not mention that Jackson had made several counteroffers. The Jackson family also held a press conference saying it was their unequivocal belief that Michael was a victim of extortion. On August 26, Jackson's promoters released an audio tape of him apologizing to his fans for canceling his second show in 2 days. On August 31st, attorney Gloria Allred held a press conference stating she had been retained on behalf of the Chandlers and implied a civil suit against Jackson would be made. On September 10th, Allred said that she was off the case, declining further comment as to why. On September 13th, the Chandlers hired Larry R. Feldman, former Los Angeles County Bar Association president. On October 6, 1993, Jordan Chandler underwent a psychiatric interview with Dr. Richard Gardner in New York. Dr. Gardner had formulated parental alienation syndrome, in 1985, a disorder that arises primarily in the context of child custody disputes. Jordan gave his account of what allegedly happened between him and Jackson in May 1993 during their trip to Monaco for the World Music Awards. On November 8th, police searched the Jackson family home, Havenhurst. The Schwartzes gave the tape of the Chandlers' July conversation with Schwartz to the authorities, who leaked it to the press. The recorded conversation was a critical aspect of Jackson's defense against the allegations made against him. Jackson and his supporters argued that he was the victim of a jealous father whose only goal was to extort Jackson. The tape was publicly released by Pellicano after edits had been made. Testimony from staff and other children. Brett Barnes, age 11, publicly said that he had shared a bed with Jackson, but insisted there was no sexual abuse. I was on one side of the bed and he was on the other. It was a big bed. Wade Robson, age 10, told Fox Television that he too shared a bed with Jackson, but that nothing sexual happened. Several parents complained of aggressive investigative techniques by police. They claimed that the police frightened their children with lies such as, "We have nude photos of you," and told parents their children had been molested even though their children had denied it. In September 1993, police officers traveled to the Philippines to interview two of Jackson's ex-housekeepers. However, the ex-employees lacked credibility due to a back salary argument they had with Jackson. A former security guard made various allegations about Jackson, saying he was fired because he knew too much, and alleged that he was ordered by Jackson to destroy a photo of a naked boy. Instead of reporting this alleged event to the police, he sold the story to hard copy for $150,000. On December 13, 1993, Jackson's maid Blanca Francia alleged that she quit in disgust after seeing Jackson in a shower with a child, but did not inform the police. Lisa D. Campbell reported that Francia had been fired in 1991 and had sold her story to hard copy for $20,000. However, when Diane Diamond interviewed Francia on the show, she denied being fired but acknowledged being compensated by hard copy. On December 2nd, 1993, attorney Charles Matthews held a press conference about his clients allegedly being threatened and harassed by Anthony Pellicano's machinations. Matthews was representing Jackson's former security guards in a wrongful termination lawsuit filed on November 22nd. The lawsuit alleged wrongful termination due to firsthand personal knowledge of many of Michael Jackson's nighttime visits with young boys. Investigation into Chandler. The police also began an investigation into Evan Chandler for extortion, finding that he was $68,000 $400 behind in his child support payments, despite being well paid as a dentist. Following a 5-month investigation, Deputy Los Angeles County District Attorney Michael Montagna released a public statement stating no charges had been brought against Chandler, citing Jackson's lawyer's failure to file for extortion in a timely manner and Jackson's willingness to negotiate with Chandler for several weeks. Montagna explained that settlements were encouraged as they were favored by the law. Montagna also said the discussions between Jackson's representatives and Barry K. Rothman, Chandler's attorney at the time, appeared to have been attempts to settle a possible civil case, not efforts to extort money. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the aspects that exist in the synastry between Michael Jackson and Evan Chandler. So Jordan's Saturn in Virgo trine Michael's Mars in Taurus. This is representing Jordan's stepfather introducing Jordan to Michael. The money that Jordan's biological father received from Michael in the settlement. Jordan's Saturn in Virgo quincunx Michael's South Node in Aries. Jordan's father's attempts to sully Michael's name, especially with Saturn and Virgo being in that 8th house. Jordan's sun and ascendant in Capricorn square Michael's nodes. So Michael Jackson has his South Node in Aries. That explains a lot about his face and all the plastic surgery procedures, but also getting burnt on the scalp in the Pepsi commercial. And he has his North Node in Libra, representing the legal issues he was facing. Jordan's sun and ascendant in Capricorn trine Michael's Mars in Taurus. Oh, let me go back. Jordan's father's opportunism triggered the legal issues and Michael's anger. When you have Aries South Node, you could have some serious anger issues. Jordan's sun and ascendant in Capricorn trine Michael's Mars in Taurus. Jordan's father getting money out of Michael through deceptive means with Jordan's sun in that 12th house. That's the deception. Jordan's Mercury in Capricorn sextile Michael's moon and ascendant in Pisces. Michael inviting Jordan's father to his home and spending time at Jordan's father's home. Jordan's Mercury in Capricorn quincunx Michael's Venus and Uranus in Leo. Jordan's father going back and forth with Michael over the settlement money. This is an extortion aspect. I don't know why they were trying to say that there was, well, they blamed it on the attorneys not filing the extortion case in enough time, and Michael going back and forth with Evan with negotiations on settlement money. But I mean, it was clearly extortion. Jordan's Venus in Aquarius, opposition Michael's Pluto in Virgo. And remember, Venus in Jordan's chart is ruling the 4th house. That's the father. So Jordan's father feeling entitled to receive Michael's support. And that entitlement runs deep with Evan Chandler because Evan is in Aquarius. Jordan's Venus in Aquarius square Michael's Mars in Taurus. Jordan's father displaying a sense of entitlement and being entitled to some of Michael's money. Jackson playing hardball with the negotiations. Jordan's moon in Scorpio conjoined to Michael's Neptune. This is representing Jordan's mother's obsession with Michael and her becoming fully immersed in his life. Jordan's mother was probably stalking Michael. Remember, she was a big time fan, even to the point of writing to Michael when he was in the hospital, recovering from the burns from that Pepsi commercial. Jordan's moon and midheaven trine Michael's ascendant. Jordan's mother benefiting from Jackson's compassionate and charitable nature. Jordan's Pluto and Libra conjoined to Michael's North Node. Jordan's accusations of sexual molestation and assault. The criminal investigation and civil suit. The issue over Jordan's description of Michael's penis, especially with respect to the jury, because Libra rules juries. Jordan's Mars and Jupiter opposition Michael's moon and ascendant in Pisces represents Jordan's mother's pursuit of Michael, represents her man helping him when his car broke down. Jordan's Mars and Virgo squaring Michael's Saturn and midheaven. His Saturn and midheaven are in Sagittarius. Michael cutting Jordan and his mother off once the accusations got out. Jordan choosing not to testify against Michael due to a lack of detail. Jordan's mother questioning Michael's ethics and morals. So there was a situation where reportedly June, Jordan's mother, found out that Jordan was able to sleep in the same bed with Michael Jackson. And supposedly she went off and Michael Jackson started crying because he was disappointed and upset that she didn't trust him and that she was trying to accuse him of having nefarious motivations. But she had told the police and even told her ex-husband that she didn't think that Michael abused her son. She said that in the beginning. So Jordan's Uranus and Scorpio square Michael's Mercury and Leo. Mom turns on Michael. Jordan's Uranus and Scorpio square Michael's Chiron and Aquarius. Betrayal at the hands of a so-called friend, which is Jordan's mother, or even so-called fan, friend. They're both ruled by Uranus and Aquarius. Jordan's Neptune conjunct Michael's Saturn and midheaven in Sagittarius. A dream come true aspect for Jordan. Jordan's Neptune in Sagittarius trine Michael's Aries South Node, sextile Libra North Node. Jackson would take Jordan and his family on trips, vacations, and award shows. Jordan's Chiron and Taurus opposition Michael's Neptune and Scorpio. The money that Jordan received in exchange for Michael's misery. Jordan's North Node and Jupiter conjunct Michael's Sun and Pluto in Virgo. The repair theme, the help theme intensified, but also could be seen as grooming. Jordan's South Node in Pisces, opposition Michael's Sun and Pluto in Virgo. Jordan's lies, Jordan being drugged so that he can make that statement against Michael Jackson. Jordan basically being under hypnosis, resulting in Michael's incrimination. Jordan refusing to cooperate with the police investigation due to his lack of knowledge regarding details about Michael Jackson. Use of sedatives. Chandler admitted he had used the sedative sodium amytal during Jordan's dental surgery, during which Jordan said Jackson had touched his penis. Sodium amytal is a barbiturate that puts people in a hypnotic state when injected intravenously. Studies carried out in 1952 demonstrated that it enabled false memories to be implanted. According to Allison Winter, a science historian at the University of Chicago, these types of drugs place people in a state of extreme suggestibility. People will pick up on cues about what questioners want to hear and repeat that back. Mark Torbiner, the dental anesthesiologist who administered the drug, told GQ that if sodium amytal was used, it was for dental purposes. According to Diane Diamond of the tabloid TV program Hard Copy, Torbiner's records show that Rahbinah and Vistaril were administered instead of sodium amytal. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration was investigating Torbiner's administration of drugs during house calls, where he mostly gave patients morphine and Demerol. Torbiner's credentials with the Board of Dental Examiners indicated that he was restricted by law to administering drugs solely for dental procedures, but he had not adhered to those restrictions. For example, he had given general anesthetic to Barry Rothman during hair transplant procedures. Torbiner had introduced Chandler and Rothman in 1991 when Rothman needed dental work. strip search. On February 10th, 1993, Jackson had revealed in a televised interview that he had vitiligo, a skin disorder that destroys skin pigmentation and creates blotches. The interview was watched by 90 million viewers, and after it aired, expert information on vitiligo was widely shared in the media. According to Pelicano, Jordan Chandler said in July 1993 that Jackson did lift his shirt once to show the blotches on his skin. On December 20, 1993, investigators for the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department and the LAPD issued Jackson with a warrant for a strip search, as police wanted to verify Jordan's description of Jackson's private anatomy. The officers photographed Jackson's entire body. The police were looking for discoloration, any signs of vitiligo that Jordan has spoken about, or any other skin disorder. Refusal to comply would have been used in court as an indication of guilt. Those present for the prosecution were District Attorney Tom Sneddon, a detective, a photographer, and a doctor. Those present on behalf of Jackson were his two attorneys, a physician, a detective, a bodyguard, and a photographer. The attorneys and Sneddon agreed to leave the room when the examination took place. At Jackson's insistence, the prosecution detective also left. In an emotional state, Jackson stood on a platform in the middle of the room and disrobed. The search lasted for approximately 25 minutes. He was never touched. On January 28, 1994, Reuters and USA Today reported that an unidentified source had told that the pictures did not match Jordan's description. According to LAPD detective and pedophilia expert Bill Dworin, who spoke to NBC News in February 2003, Jordan's description matched the photos of Jackson's genitalia. Dworin did not believe that Jordan's accusations were coached. The DA and the sheriff's photographer stated that the description was accurate, but the jurors felt that the photos did not match the description. In March 1994, Jackson's mother, Catherine, was called to testify in front of the LA County grand jury. Investigators asked whether her son had altered the appearance of his genitalia. Jordan claimed that Jackson was circumcised. However, Jackson's autopsy report showed that he had not been circumcised and his foreskin appeared intact with no signs of surgical restoration. Now, here is Evan Chandler's chart. So, Evan Chandler was born on January 25th, 1944. And he has an IMDb page because he was co-writer of the film Robin Hood Men in Tights. I never saw that movie. I never had a desire, but I know Dave Chappelle is in that movie. So just looking at his chart, you can see a lot of what went down. First of all, he has that stellium in Aquarius, Sun conjunct Moon, and South Node. And that's basically pointing to where he felt entitled to what his ex-wife and son had. And then opposing North Node and Pluto in Leo, that's basically his allegations that his son was sexually abused. Whether these allegations are true or not, it's just pointing to that theme. Also, this is pointing to celebrity because Leo rules celebrity. So this can show that he was dealing with some issue involving being a fan to a celebrity, but also the entitlement theme that comes in with him basically going after a celebrity. He has Mercury in Capricorn and it's squaring Neptune. So this can make him prone to lie, to cheat, to do something in a way that could slander people. He has Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini, also Saturn in Gemini. That explains his writing ability. And the Mars conjunct Uranus can deal with where he latches on to a friend, or it could deal with fandom as well, but it could show where he latches on to a friend or a so-called friend to try to, accomplish his goals or whatever like that. And he's able to do that with Mars and Uranus trining that Aquarius stellium. He has a kite in his chart that is just pointing to where he got his way at the end of the day when it came to making these allegations against Michael Jackson. He walked away with a nice settlement, over $1 million. So let's get into some of the aspects between Michael Jackson and Evan Chandler. Saturn and Gemini opposing Michael's Saturn and midheaven in Sagittarius. Evan suggesting that Michael build an addition onto his home. Evan's Saturn is in Jackson's fourth house, and the fourth house is dealing with home to accommodate his family. When that was unsuccessful, Evan asked Michael to buy him a home, but Michael had limits when it came to his generosity. So Michael's Saturn in particular is where he's setting limits on his generosity. Evan's Mars and Uranus in Gemini square Michael's Sun and Pluto. Evan goes on the attack with allegations against Michael after Michael would not help Evan in some ways. Represents Michael turning down Evan's request for Michael to fund his screenwriting projects. It also represents the phone call where Evan called Michael evil and vowed to ruin him. Evan's Chiron in Virgo opposition Michael's moon and ascendant in Pisces. Evan coming to Michael for help, especially with buying him a home, represents Evan's attempts to humiliate Jackson. Evan's Jupiter conjunct Michael's Mercury in Leo. Evan encouraged Jordan to spend more time with Michael early on. Evan trying to get as much information on Michael as possible. Represents Evan's attorney and his contact with Michael Jackson. Also represents Evan wanting to join in on the fun when he saw that Michael Jackson was taking his ex-wife and his son Jordan onto these trips, and especially when he took them to Monaco. Evan asking for big favors of Jackson represents Michael viewing Evan as being very bold, but also very demanding. Evan's Sun and Moon in Aquarius quincunx Michael's Sun and Pluto in Virgo. Evan's sense of entitlement toward what his ex-wife and son have makes Michael feel forced to include him. Evan's Sun and Moon in Aquarius squaring Michael's Neptune in Scorpio. Michael being bullied by Evan to the point where Michael pays up to avoid more misery. His bullying and sense of entitlement trigger illness and addictive tendencies in Michael. Evan feeling disregarded and discarded by Michael. This square can generate a great deal of guilt within Evan, and it is largely responsible for his suicide, in my opinion. It's akin to being haunted by Jackson. Evan's node squaring Michael's Neptune. So Evan had his south node in Aquarius, north node in Leo. Evan using his son Jordan to siphon/extort money out of Michael. Evan's sense of entitlement made Michael suspicious and perhaps even a bit fearful. Evan's Jupiter in Leo squaring Michael's Mars in Taurus. Evan not being satisfied with the money that Michael was willing to pay him. So here's the chart between Jordan Chandler and Evan Chandler. So I'm not going to get deep into this, but there are some interesting aspects that are shown, such as Evan's Chiron conjoined to Jordan's Mars, and that's basically representing Evan grooming and coaching him on what to say, especially with Jordan having Aries on the third. So his Mars is ruling that third house. So that's pointing to grooming him and coaching him on what to say, but also wounding him, creating mental wounds. Evan's Mercury is right on Jordan's Mercury. So, it's about 4 degrees apart, but that's still very close. So this is just showing that Evan was very much in control of Jordan's mindset. And this also represents the drugging that took place for Evan to get Jordan to make that statement against Michael Jackson. Evan's Sun and Moon in Aquarius and South Node are all squaring Jordan's Moon in Scorpio. So that's representing the conflicts between him and Jordan's mother. They had a bitter divorce and there was issues with child support. He basically owed like $68,000 in child support at the time he started trying to extort money out of Michael Jackson. On January 4th, 1994, Larry Feldman filed a court motion in an effort to obtain the police photographs of Jackson. The motion stated a multiple choice request. Either provide copies of the photographs, submit Jackson to a second search, or the court can bar the photographs from the civil trial as evidence. Feldman said that the district attorney's office previously refused the request of these photographs. Jackson's lawyers asked a Santa Barbara County judge to order prosecutors to return the new photographs, fearing that they would become public, but were denied. Settlement. Jackson's legal team met 3 times a week at Taylor's home to discuss the case. Eventually, they agreed that Jackson was too sick to endure a lengthy trial and that he should settle out of court. The lawsuit was settled on January 25th, 1994, with $15,331,250 to be held in a trust fund for Jordan, $1.5 million for each of his parents, and $5 million for the family's lawyer, for a total of approximately $23 million. According to a motion passed to Judge Melville in 2004, the settlement was for global claims of negligence, and the lawsuit was defended by Mr. Jackson's insurance carrier. The carrier negotiated and paid the settlement over the protests of Mr. Jackson and his personal legal counsel. On January 29th, 1994, the Associated Press reported that Jackson had requested his insurance company, Transamerica Insurance Group, contribute to the settlement. A lawyer for TIG, Jordan Harriman, had made a one-time only offer to Jackson on January 13th to resolve his claim. Jackson refused that offer, but further negotiations followed. Russ Wardrip, a TIG claims analyst, has sent a January 13th registered letter to Jackson's lawyer, Howard Weitzman. Acts of sexual activity do not constitute accidental bodily injury. Further, acts of sexual activity, especially those against a minor, are inherently intentional, wrongful, and harmful. Coverage for such acts is precluded by the California Insurance Code. According to Jackson's attorney, Thomas Mesereau, Jackson's insurance company was the source of the settlement amounts, as noted in a 2005 memorandum in People versus Jackson. The memorandum also noted that an insurance carrier has the right to settle claims covered by insurance where it decides settlement is expedient and the insured may not interfere with nor prevent such settlements, as established by a number of precedents in California. Defeating the right would involve convincing a court with the power to overrule the precedent that the early decision was either wrongly decided or more often clearly wrong, depending on the criteria of the court, or the court must be convinced to distinguish the case. That is, to make the ruling narrower than that in the precedent due to some difference in facts between the current and precedent case while supporting the result reached in the earlier case. In 2004, Mesereau said, people who intended to earn millions of dollars from Jackson's record and music promotions did not want negative publicity from these lawsuits interfering with their profits. Michael Jackson now regrets making these payments. These settlements were entered into with one primary condition. That condition was that Mr. Jackson never admitted any wrongdoing. He always denied doing anything wrong. Mr. Jackson now realizes the advice he received was wrong. Jackson explained why he had settled. I wanted to go on with my life. Too many people have already been hurt. I want to make records. I want to sing. I want to perform again. It's my talent, my hard work, my life, my decision. He also wanted to avoid the media circuits. Mesereau later said Jackson regretted settling. The settlement cannot be used as evidence of guilt in future civil and criminal cases. In 1994, Larry Feldman said nobody bought anybody's silence with the civil settlement. Bribery to not testify in a trial is a felony according to California Penal Code 138. Receiving such a bribe is also a felony according to this law. So this concludes my sponsored reading on Jordan Chandler, first accuser of sexual abuse at Michael Jackson. So let me know what you think in the comments section. Thanks once again, Michelle, for sponsoring this video. It really was an eye-opener because while I knew about these allegations back in the early 90s, I never delved into the story. I didn't know any of the details. So upon learning about Evan Chandler, I was like, wow, like I totally believe Michael Jackson was not guilty of the allegations. So please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you would like a reading, you can go to my website. The link is in the description section. And stay tuned for more videos. Peace.